Well, welcome everyone to another edition of the Spark Coaching Live Sessions. As usual, my spectacular coaches, Kylie Denton. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm great, Arthur. I had the flu about a week and a half ago, so I'm still getting over that, but I'm feeling much better
You
every day.
sound great. You're looking fab. So
Yeah.
wouldn't have known. Would not have
Good.
known. And speaking of fab, we've got the muscles from Brussels. Bram Legrue, how are you, champion?
Very good. Still like this.
Gonna say it's quite offensive. You upset me just then. Was that you're back to your physique? You had your big conference away in where were you? In Bali, weren't you?
No. Malaysia, Penang.
Malaysia, that's right. And you had all those buffet breakfasts. You're back doing your 4-minute Ks, or what's going on?
Oh, look, I did a little bit of that, but look, it was a great time, great people, great feedback. People already signed up for next year to come back, and they're starting to talk to other people. Hey, you should come as well. So next time we'll be in Thailand, and if you remember James Bond, the movie there with that big rock where the satellite is coming out, that's our next destination. So we're going to be James Bond style.
You have to have a night.
I can only imagine you taking full advantage of that theme, dressing up in your James Bond outfit. I can definitely see it coming. But good luck with that. Awesome. Well, it's just the three of us today. And so, Kylie, it's your topic for today. So tell us, what are we talking about?
Well, I've just really, over the last probably maybe 12 months, maybe a little bit less, what I've really noticed is more and more companies coming to me because they feel like ever since the Royal Commission that financial service organisations, whether it be banking, whether it be financial planning, whether it be dealer groups, whether it be superannuation companies, have realised that for so long we've focused on compliance and process, and for many of us, we've actually lost that touch, those soft skills, those interpersonal skills, those real skills that connect us with humans. And I'm really finding that even the newer PY planners that are coming on, the professional year planners that are coming on, they're really technical. They know their stuff, but they haven't actually, and they don't even teach them soft skills in their studies. So they've come out knowing how to write a plan, how to develop a strategy, but not actually knowing how to actually really connect and link that to the client. So for me, it's really around, how are financial planners or financial service organizations really equipping their people with the right skills, the right training, the right tools, the right resources, the right confidence to be able to have really quality conversations, meaningful conversations.
Yeah, it's confident. Yeah. Keep going, Kylie. You just said the word confidence.
Confidence. That's what it is.
To what you're saying. It's sorry to interrupt your flow, but go on.
Yeah, that's what it is. Is they go, I want to feel confident that I know what I'm doing in the meeting. I want to feel confident that I have a process to take the client through. I want to feel confident that I can actually ask those deeper connection questions to clients. We know clients have always wanted trust with their advisor. But now I think what I'm seeing a shift in is they want intimacy with the client. And what I mean by intimacy is they want financial advisors to know more about them, their fears, their values, their behaviours, their future needs. And I think as an industry, we've got to not just focus on compliance, we've actually got to focus on how are we really connecting with our clients now, but also our future clients, because that's going to evolve as well.
I'll kick off.
Do.
It's like I need the confidence when I'm dropped in the deep end that I know how to float and not sink. And that's how we were taught back in the day.
Yeah.
It's absence of mentors that excelled with those soft skills is now the situation that we have in financial advice. admittedly, for good reasons, some people have not participating in the industry anymore. But there's also the downside where we've lost a lot of that knowledge and skill, and persons that would be willing to invest in a younger, up and coming advisor it's harder. There's less entry level roles. Getting in is more difficult, and there's this focus on compliance and technical. But you're absolutely right. It's I've had opportunities in our business where young aspiring let's say service providers, call them that, are absolutely fearful of picking up the phone.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Right? So they join believing they can, and then they realize they cannot. On the flip side, I've got the privilege of having a couple young aspiring advisors in my business that are absolutely fantastic on the phone and are very warm and have clients warming to them with the soft skills that I sit back and listen. I enjoy thoroughly listening to those conversations. So she's come on with those skills, but she's been kind of developed through other practices. So they've invested in her in that manner. It just so happens that we provided her with further opportunities to reach her ambition. And there's another young gentleman, which we've actually straight out of university, I had to really support with having those conversations and give him the space to learn, grow, and make mistakes without fear, and cut his teeth. And so that's the three variances in those three examples. It's someone that just would literally not pick it up. The next person, so no confidence whatsoever. The next person, we had to build confidence, and the next person is full of confidence. It's also the people they're talking to. So if I can speak to someone of a similar ilk as I can probably relate to them a lot easier. So the communicator and the receiver of that communication, they can probably relate, and they can openly talk more. So now there's this distance of our age, and potentially a self-imposed barrier or level ceiling on me being confident to speak to someone who's got 40 years more life experience than me. Are they going to take me seriously? That's probably what I'm thinking. How do I connect with this person? I don't want to speak to this person. They're way older than me. It's way beyond my abilities. So they're already probably talking themselves out of it. So cutting through, but then on the other flip side, it's potentially the reality. I'm 65. Why am I talking to someone who's 25 about my life goals and my aspirations? But the reality is that this is the shift. We've got a reduction of participants in the industry, and we've got new entrants who are, up and coming, very able, technically, compliantly, but need that support. It's a gap. Couldn't agree more.
I'd like to add something there, guys. Got to find that what we just shared is really interesting. You got the confidence piece, and then you got the interpersonal skills piece, right? Which is obviously the soft skills that we started talking about. I always say, how can you ever lead someone else if you can't lead yourself internally? Your thoughts, your feelings. For example, if you're feeling intimidated by someone, it means you haven't got a grip on your own feelings and thoughts. So the intra-psychological piece is really important to get right. Here's a quick little brain hack that I'd like to share with people. I once was invited by the University of Adelaide to speak to an audience of graduates from the university, and particularly those that came from a very high compliance background. Accountants, bank, like say, what do they call them?
Analysts. Yep.
That's right. Engineers and the likes, and scientists and stuff. And one of those 15 brain hacks that I came up with is a very simple one. Is that, for example, when you're thinking of a person in front of you, like the example that you gave, Arthur, a 25-year-old having to talk to a 65-year-old and basically position them as a trusted advisor. One thing that you can say to yourself is, I am where I am today because I earned it and I'm up for it, which means it's a way to psych yourself into high performance and give yourself the personal backing before you ask somebody else to invest in your advice. I am where I am today because I'm ready for it, right? So it's little things like that I find that really overcome self-sabotage, because if you cannot hold a grip on yourself, it's very difficult to influence another person and onboard them as a client. You cannot be a trusted advisor if you don't trust yourself, is my point here. So do the work internally before you actually then start venturing off to adding value to a client. And so I love this piece, as you know, Kylie. Sure.
Yeah, I'll vouch for that, Brian, because back in the day, my one of my mentors in the bank, John Oliver, he was a fantastic man, and he actually gave me my first opportunity as an advisor. And so in that interview, he asked me that exact same question. He goes, I'm so-and-so. Why would I take advice from you? And I came back with an answer exactly like that. I've done the study. I'm well prepared, and et cetera, et cetera. So I believed. I had no barrier. And so he gave me the job based on that response, which is exactly that that internal belief, but also the internal, application to have no barrier to support someone in that kind of stage of life. But anyway, Kylie, sorry.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think, for me, and it's the mindset first, and then it's the skills or the structure or the training. I always say anything with strength has structure, or anything with structure has strength. So I think there is that ability, that EQ, that mindset, that, your own personal value proposition. But it's then actually helping the financial planners or financial service professionals to actually know what to do and when to do it, and how do I do it, and why do I do it, and what happens if I don't do it. So really providing them with that sort of that more depth of knowledge. And I think what we also need to remember, and you touched on it before, Arthur, where you said we've got young financial planners, 25, 26 coming through. They're seeing our baby boomers and above, and they're going, well, how do I tell someone that much older than me how to manage their finances? But I don't think we should just be looking at it like that, right? There is going to be a really big transition of wealth shortly, okay, from our baby boomers down to our generation X, Y, and Z. I think what we need to be doing in the industry now is starting to have those conversations. If you haven't already started, start now. If you haven't had those conversations, to be having those intergenerational conversations. So it's not just, you are no longer just my client as a 65-year-old. I also need to be speaking to your children or their children, because what we do know is that clients want us to have a one-stop shop, and I'm going to trust if my dad's done well or my mum's done well and they've been using Arthur or they've been using Brahm or then I want to now build a relationship with Arthur. So I think we now really need to start thinking about how we're having some of those different conversations, because the transfer of wealth is coming and we need to be able to adapt to those different generations.
What's some of this? I mean, it's a great segue, I guess. Statistically, there's got to be some data. I've seen data, particularly from the US, on the success of that transition of relationship continuing on with the advisor. Do you have any idea what those stats look like?
Well, what I do know, right, and this is some really valid research, is that there is going to be, in Australia alone, a transfer of wealth of $430 billion, okay, over the next 10 years. That's going to come down from our baby boomers down to our generation X, Y, and Z, okay?
It's not all out of my bank.
What's that?
It's not all out of my bank.
I was talking about this with my mentor the other day, actually, and he said, yeah, it's probably I'm transferring it all to my son. And I was like, I knew you were my mentor for one reason. So what we do know about that is that there is going to be a transfer of that wealth, but it's how do we actually have some of those conversations? How do we make sure that we are connecting with that younger generation? We know, like even my daughter, we were talking the other day, she's 15, and I said, why don't you just ring her and find that out? And she was like, Mum, no one ever rings anymore. We text, we Snapchat, or we Insta, right? So it's even how do we start to adapt to those different
And you wonder
ways.
why we can't talk to each other anymore.
Exactly. But I will say though, is it doesn't matter where you are in this world, everyone still wants that human connection. We cannot get that through that digital experience. We can get a part of it, but not all of it.
Yeah, and is this the whole, and I wonder how we had Slayman present to us a couple of weeks ago around what was the formula?
Yeah, performance minus potential minus interference equals performance.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. So the interference is this social media and interference versus an enabler in this context.
Yeah.
So are you really connecting with your audience and spending your time there versus actually having more, human touch with your audience? And so is that something that's interfering with someone's performance? I've heard, look, I actually haven't spent enough time on this very topic. Everyone's talking about it, Kylie. I've not heard one person say how they're going to go out and do it. And I've sat back and listened to it and gone, that is the way. There's a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. So, connect. I mean, you're talking about connecting with, obviously there's got to be a decision maker. The decision maker is the holder of the wealth, right? Who's the decision maker?
Multiple.
Well, I agree. I think
if I'm going to set up, when we're talking about significant wealth, I'm setting it up general advice, everyone. I'm not saying this is a personal advice, but potentially I'm going to look at some kind of structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to appoint a number of potential trustees and independent of the family potentially. Because if you've got, many children, unfortunately, if you appoint a child, you got to also think about the relationship that child's going to have with the other children if they're one of the trustees of this structure. I mean, you're really putting them in a hard spot, aren't you? Because there's going to be disagreements. There's going to be all sorts of wants and needs and ultimately a decision maker, which probably shouldn't be any of the children. So then you got to find an independent, trustee of that structure that will then work with the beneficiaries. But the decision maker is not the departing holder of the wealth. It's potentially a non-related party. If there's a structure.
Do you know what? I want to take it back even a bit further before we even get to that, right? This is this intimacy part that I was talking about, that what we've got to be able to do. Like I remember when I was advising, and I remember also, and I've coached hundreds and hundreds of financial planners, remember a mind map. Remember the mind maps you used to do when you were studying and you would connect all the dots? I don't even see enough financial planners delving deep into that family structure around the mind map. Like, do the brothers talk? What would happen? What's your fear? What are you most worried about? What are your values? What are your children?
That is the way. That is the way. And so where I was going is exactly it's like you don't want to put your one. So let's say you got 3 children. You don't want to put, William in that level of responsibility, because your fear is that will then potentially ruin the relationship with the other 2 children. but it's having that conversation. Isn't that part of the human touch? It's actually raising those themes and actually starting to help them in their own minds work through the problem. Because the worst fear, my worst fear as a parent, is that, you know, and we see it, sad stories all the time. You know, we've got clients and you talk about their children, and, you know, one of the questions I always ask is, you know, what's the relationship with the kids? And it's a mixed bag.
It is a mixed bag.
It's a mixed bag. And so the worst fear as a parent is that your own children don't have a good relationship, and that they only pretend to have one whilst you're alive. That's my worst fear. You know, I want my children to have a very strong relationship beyond myself and my wife, you know, and then life happens, things happen, and then everyone's, you know, situation changes. And then, you know, this is where this whole, I guess, crux of the conversation is, how does that then transpire into the transfer? You know,
there's a lot of
isn't that the I guess the conversation starter?
Well, I'll wait for Brahm, because I know Brahm's got something to say, but I think there's two components is what I'm really hearing, and what I really think, because, you know, you say, what should they be doing? I don't know what they should be doing. I think I have a pretty good understanding of what they should be doing, but it's going to make some changes to their operating way as a business, but they have to, right, because of that transfer of wealth. But Brahm, I'll let you.
My 2 cents. I think there's a lot of garbage that people haven't taken out because they've been afraid of having the tough, difficult conversation that you need to have early on. The sooner you have them, the easier you can clear the space. As long as people hold grudges, that really creates conflict down the track. So I think people need to just be more mature and get better at explaining how they feel and what they think, and work through it together. Have the conversations. If you put
this goes back to what Kylie's talking about, is then in that scenario, we need to equip our not even younger advisors, the existing cohort of advisors, to have the confidence to actually get into that space, because it's going to enter a whole nother level of, you think you got a good relationship with your client. Well, that's going to really determine if you actually got a deep enough relationship with your client to actually go there. And I think that's going to take a whole nother level of confidence and ability to facilitate that conversation.
And intimacy,
correct.
As you say, Carly. Absolutely.
Yeah. And
I don't, you know, you're right, Carly. We're not ready. I don't think we're across the board. We're not ready.
I don't think we are either.
Clients that go, you know what they say to me? They say, oh, I'll be dead. I won't even know about it. There's some clients, they're just, you know, too hard. I'm going to be dead. I don't care.
Yeah.
We don't know.
And you know what the risk as well is if we don't start having these more deeper, intimate conversations with our clients, what we do know about the generation as is, Generation X, Y, and Z, is that they are much more technically savvy, right? So if it's no longer about losing clients because you're going to lose them to another financial planner, I don't even think that's it's a threat, but it's not really a massive threat. What I think will happen is, if we don't have these conversations, is the younger generation will go, you know what, I'm going to do it myself. And in fact, we're already seeing a shift from 7 out of 10 people doing it to self, that then predicting it'll be 4 that'll 4 people that will do it won't do it themselves, 6 will, right? So we're already starting to see that the younger generation will go, you know what, if I don't have a relationship and I don't have trust and I don't have intimacy and I don't have transparency or value, or we're not aligned to beliefs or whatever it might be, or even social and economical environmental impacts.
ESG,
I'll do it myself. ESG. I'll go and do it myself. And absolutely. I might not do it so good, but
2 concepts, guys. There's a good word in English that says you got to be a trusted advisor, which means you have a deeper understanding of what makes people tick. The other one is one where you are the confidant. where people share stuff with you that they don't share with
Exactly.
others, and you are able to articulate value to them that they wouldn't have had without you. That's how you earn business. That's how you secure long-term family business. And I think that is definitely all around that soft skills that you won't use at you won't learn at university. I have to say, I've gone 7 years to university to learn psychology. Guess what? I didn't learn my most valuable skills there at all.
It's not in a book.
That's
It's not
it.
in a book. Well, it's probably someone that has written about it, but you wouldn't find it in a university textbook. No.
No.
That's it.
So I think there's that part, but I also think there's the second element. I know we're nearly on time, so we might leave them with a bit of a thought here as opposed to delving deeper into it, is how are they starting to think about how they need to interact with those different generations, right? Because there are some slight differences between that generation X, Y, and Z, and we need to be able to be more agile in our approach in that space as well.
Yep. Yeah. Especially when you're coming out of the back of Royal Commission, where compliance has been heavily drilled in.
Yeah.
You got to actually move away from it to actually have deep, meaningful human connections, where you're adapting to the generations, the specific needs, the personality styles, the lots.
Yes, yes.
No compliance process-driven approach can help you with that at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. You'll lose. You'll lose in the end because the baby boomers will die, right? And we want to make sure that we retain that wealth, and we can only do that through those deeper, meaningful conversations.
Yeah, I think it's how to tap in. I think it's tapping in. So look, tapping into the higher motivation or
values, beliefs,
values and beliefs.
Yeah,
which might just be the family. It might be beyond the family.
Of course.
So, but it's also, it's being able to draw out that information, and then I guess playing out the potential options available to them. And there's probably going to be a rise in clients wanting to allocate a portion to a like a charity group or some kind of legacy type of provision as a portion, but also making sure that the children don't squander. Well, that's the fear. I'm not saying they would. The kids these days are all bright, they're all sharp, they all have great abilities, but that is the fear. And so I think tapping into those fears and giving them the comfort going in and through the process is the skill that needs to be acquired here.
Totally agree. And we have to do that now. Right? We're going to do that now because we're going to be having better quality, meaningful conversations with our current, which if you think about many planning practices, it's your pre-retirees and your retirees. They're the ones we want to be having these conversations with right now.
And by the way, your ability and your success as a financial planner or whatever financial professional you might be ain't going to hinge on your compliance. That's just the point. Your great success will come from the soft skills, big time.
Yep, totally agree, Ram. Totally agree.
Your value proposition is how you differentiate.
Yeah,
and look, we understand. We get at that as and it's like how do you then approach a broker this? Because it could be a gradual, we're seeing your clients at least once a year, in most cases twice. You got to start bringing them on the journey, and then you just can't drop it on and bang. So there's I'd love to see some kind of program that kind of has done all the studies around those fears, and then how to then structure some kind of education flow, so that each time that you catch up with the client, so let's say you're seeing your client twice a year, so over the course of 2 to 3 years, each touch point you're walking them through what a plan could look like Because they've also got they're going to say, well, hang on, I've got to look up, I've got to make sure I've got enough for me. I want to end gracefully too, right? Like I don't want to be, looking after everyone else and haven't, so there's that whole age care kind of conversation, and then once that's kind of resolved, then I can look after others, right? So then it's like I think there's a sequencing here, but I haven't seen anything yet.
Well,
I haven't seen it.
We do it well in super. We do it well in the superannuation space, right? Really clear around what conversations should we be having around these ages, right? And we do it somewhat in financial planning as well, but
life stage triggers,
yeah, not even just the triggers, about what do we want to be really educating them on. Here you are now, but what does the next 5 years look like for you? Not from a goals perspective, but what do we actually need to make sure we're really considering? Because you think about it, we want most of the time we think people under 75 should be spending their wealth, right? But we know that's not the case. We know they're not spending their wealth.
And then most cases, they're going to run out of time. Yeah.
Right. And then once they hit 75, right, everything starts to decline. Their memory starts to decline. They have more health issues, more health, so their money goes to that. So we've got to get them at an earlier stage.
It's so interesting because you think about motivation, remuneration, and accumulation. So during accumulative years, we've definitely got programs and systems and sequencing to help clients in those periods, because they're accumulating, and we want to be on the journey when they're accumulating, because as they're accumulating, we're earning. And so it's like what happens beyond, there's nothing on the other side, because we haven't worked out how to continue on the journey with the family. That's why there's an absence. That's why there is an absence, because we haven't actually worked out how to be continued to be remunerated, to be a trusted professional for that phase beyond. And that's why it's so underdeveloped, isn't it? It's actually quite interesting when you put it that
Massive
way.
opportunity.
We've got all these frameworks whilst we're accumulating, but once that line in the sand comes, because we haven't got the vision to see how we can continue to have an involvement.
Well, we got 400 billion
of our client beyond life, assisting the family. That's why we've got a serious case of underdevelopment.
Was it 400 billion that you said, Kylie? That is
over 400 billion.
That field, 400 billion. Plenty of reasons to get really good at it.
Plenty of reasons, isn't there? $435 billion coming our way, right?
Numbers are numbers. I think what drives us as advisors. I think in most cases as well. That is let's just a number to represent the size. Really, what it is that within our locus of control, we've got 100 to 200 clients that we really want to genuinely make sure that the wishes are executed.
Yes.
And so it's going to be a test, really, isn't it, on how well we can, put forward those conversations with our existing clients. Because don't forget, when you've been servicing client year after year, it's a bit repetitive, and it's the same conversation. You're reviewing the same things, but then all of a sudden you now got to inject a very confronting conversation. And are we prepared? Kylie, I agree with you, we're not. So look forward to some work being developed in this space.
Yeah, well, we have programs for this. This is why I know this stuff. But I was just looking at this research and the amount of money that's coming our way, and just the experience of seeing so many financial planners not having these deeper conversations. We've got to get there. We've got to get there fast, because we do want to help that intergenerations, don't we? We do want to. We wanted to go from father to son to grandchildren to whatever it might be. We want to make sure that we are their trusted family advisor.
Yeah, if I've been helping Mr. and Mrs. Robinson for the last 10 years and then eventually Mrs. Robinson, I want to continue helping the children of Mr. and Mrs. Robinson. Yeah, absolutely.
Wouldn't that be a beautiful story to tell?
I'm vested, right? I'm fully vested in that. I've probably been to one of the celebrations in that family.
Totally agree. Yep, for sure.
All right.
This was
More
very
to come.
fruitful. I think we're going to have to wrap it up, guys. We're almost
Yeah.
35 minutes in.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, so what's next, Carly? I mean, is this something that
I'm
we're
gonna
going to
be
revisit later on, or what's the
Yeah, I'm going to be talking more about this over the next couple of months because I really want to bring awareness to it. So watch this space. You're going to see me more talking about this because I think it really is important that we start to support advisors in a way that helps them to feel more confident in this space, because we need to we are the best person to advise our clients. We don't want any person off the street going, you know what, I don't need an advisor, I can do that myself. Okay,
Yeah.
we can do it better.
Yeah,
we can do it better.
Very good. Love the passion, Kylie. Let's wrap it up. Bram, I think it's your topic next fortnight, so looking forward to your sesh. Kylie, thanks for the topic today. It's a wrap.
No worries.
See you guys in a fortnight's time. Thank you.
See you later.
Bye-bye. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining.